Hello and welcome to TNWKS, the Now We Know show, the show where we discuss a topic of interest and by the end we will have learnt something new and hopefully you will too. I'm Zak, and today we're talking to our resident personal trainer and mindfulness coach,
Buzz.
Hey Buzz.
Hey, great to be back in the studio with you, Zak.
If you enjoy the Now We Know show podcast, support Zak Wylde Productions on Patreon or join our members on YouTube for early access, ad-free content and exclusive episodes.
Well, here we are back in the studio, and yes, it's January, and of course January
That
is
fateful time of year.
when everybody starts hitting the gym.
Oh yes, don't we know the half of it?
Fitness is the forefront of everything, but it's not all about fitness. It's also about mental approach to life as well, and life can get quite
Hectic
out there, chaotic. And of course, we all suffer from stress and anxiety.
I mean, that's just part of daily life.
Yeah,
You're not going to escape that.
Exactly. And funnily enough, at time of recording, the day before we recorded this was actually known as Blue Monday.
Blue Monday?
January the 15th.
I can't say I've ever heard of that.
Well, Blue Monday is January the 15th. It's supposedly the most kind of down and depressed day of the year.
Why would anyone make that a day?
Well, it's not. You've just come out of the festive season, and and everybody is like probably waiting for their first pay packet of the year in January at the end of the month. And for some reason, it's been designated that Blue Monday is the lowest day of the year after all the festivities. And also, it's Dry January, to just compound things after the festive season.
Dry January,
Yeah,
what's that?
It's in quotation marks, they, the big them.
The big them, not them.
Somebody out there has decided that January should be Dry January, where you don't drink any alcohol.
Oh.
Which, I suppose if you're a person that kind of likes to get home from work and have a drink, and then you're trying to stick to Dry January, it probably compounds that.
Yeah.
I don't feel...
Well, there's one thing to trump that, and that's veganuary.
Yeah, I've not heard of vegan.
So veganuary is where people try to be vegan for the entire month.
No booze, no meat, and you've just hit Blue Monday.
Yeah.
No wonder you're suffering from stress and anxiety and depression. No, we shouldn't joke about it.
No, we're not.
That's what we're going to be talking about. But we're talking about mindfulness techniques in this podcast, and hopefully you'll learn something about how you can apply mindfulness in order to reduce stress and anxiety. But let's start with Weird and Wonderful.
Okay, so I brought in a story this week.
Okay.
And the headline is, Singapore's clandestine cats can soon legally call the city-state home.
Clandestine cats.
Okay, so this particular story refers to Sunny and her cat, Mooncake.
Oh, right. So Sunny isn't the cat, that's the person.
That's the person.
And the cat's name was?
Mooncake.
Mooncake. Oh, bless.
So this is in Singapore.
In Singapore. What's happened to Mooncake?
So, Sunny prides herself on being a law-abiding Singaporean citizen, but for the last 3 years, she's been hiding a feline fugitive called Mooncake.
So why is the cat a fugitive?
The fluffy ragdoll lives with Sunny in defiance of the 34-year-old law banning cats in the government-built apartments that house the vast majority of Singaporeans.
Oh, right. So they're basically not allowed to have pet cats.
No, they're not.
Oh, dear.
For the vast majority of people in Singapore.
She's been hiding her ragdoll.
Yes, Mooncake, for the past 3 years.
You got to love that name, Mooncake.
Luckily for Mooncake, Singapore plans to scrap the ban later this year, freeing Sunny from her threat of a 4,000 Singapore dollar fine or her cat's potential eviction.
Oh, well, we can't have that.
And we've got to save Mooncake the cat.
Save Mooncake. I'm sure, well, it sounds like they're going to rescind the law on that. So, hurrah!
Hurrah!
Well done, Sunny.
Singapore.
Sunny and Mooncake.
You're moving with the times.
You'll be free, and you won't have to hide her in a cupboard.
And then everyone will get cats.
I'm assuming Mooncat is a girl.
Mooncake.
Mooncake.
You said mooncat.
Mooncat.
Happy anyone?
Well, maybe when Mooncake is free, she can get a second cat and call it Mooncake.
Mooncake? No, it was called Mooncake.
Mooncat. There you go. Anyway, so that's weird and wonderful.
Yeah.
That's quite weird and quite wonderful at the same time. So it's wonderful for the cats.
Yes, of course.
Hooray!
We do like cats. We've done a podcast on cats. If you haven't listened to it, go and do that.
Likewise, we did a year ago a podcast on fitness in January.
Well, actually, we did two.
Did
we
we?
did one
Oh, yeah,
at
we
the
did
beginning of January
and a follow-up.
and a follow-up at the end of January.
That's right. So I don't want to focus too much on the fitness side of things, but fitness obviously
It's very important.
is very important, and we're really focusing more on the mental side of life in general, and that's where I like to apply mindfulness. But before we start talking about mindfulness, just on the fitness side of things, fitness and undertaking a regular sort of fitness regime basically is scientifically proven to show that it releases endorphins into your system, into your brain, which
makes
are
you feel good.
those good things, makes you feel good. And it is it's basically free, to be honest with you, but it's the best medicine, if you like, to help with things that are, like depression, stress, anxiety, is to do physical fitness on a regular basis. So, ideally, that's what you want to do.
Physical fitness and like mental health do come hand in hand.
They do. You can't really split one from the other. Yeah, but equally, when it comes to physical health and mental health, having a good diet. So if you so we talked briefly about the fact that it's dry January. I'm not going to say that I don't drink alcohol. I do drink alcohol, but I don't actually drink alcohol very often.
Well, for podcast reasons, we can.
If we're doing a review, yeah. My point being is I'm not one of those people that has a load of booze stuck in the fridge at home where when I finish work I must go back and I'm not happy unless I sit down and have I don't know,
a bottle of wine or something.
Bottle of wine. Well, give me that bottle of wine. I was going to say a glass, but if a bottle of wine.
You hear stories. You do hear stories.
Zach, that's fine.
I don't drink wine that much.
Or a can of beer or something, but it tends to be like a auto response. Daily basis. It gets into your routine, and people
like
do
something
that.
to look forward later to in the day.
Yeah, it's that treat.
Yeah,
and
a daily treat.
Just like having alcohol as like a sort of a treat response. The same thing happens with food. People will want to have that bar of chocolate in the fridge.
I'm not putting my hand up.
Yeah, who want to put that bar of chocolate? Want that I don't know, cake from the baker's on the way home from work or something like that. I don't know, but
we're not here to encourage unhealthy eating, by the way.
But the point is, if you have a healthy lifestyle, which includes a healthy nutritional intake, which doesn't have to be boring. We're not telling you you've got to go and eat brown rice and lentils.
We're not telling you to be vegan.
No. But the point is, it's all about excess, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or eating. If you're living off a diet which is really high in sugar, or you're drinking
high carb.
Yeah, high carb, high sugar. A lot of stuff. Sugar is just added to stuff these days. And it's not particularly good quality food. It's lacking vitamins and minerals and things. That's going to have an impact on you.
Lots of snacky foods. They're the big ones.
But it's not having a physical impact on you. It's also having a mental impact because these things can affect
these
the way
do
we
affect
think,
you,
and they can make you feel depressed as much as sometimes then you need that treat to kind of give you that false...
And it's kind of circular,
it gives you
act.
a false lift, and then you go down again. Again, like smoking, for example. If you're a smoker...
Something becomes compulsive.
It's an addiction. You are addicted to nicotine. If you can say, I don't need a cigarette at all, and put that down, don't worry about it. Well, you're not a smoker in the fact that you're not addicted. If you're a smoker, you need that cigarette. Else you're going to
need that hit, you need that smoking
otherwise you
break.
Start getting angry, and you start
abrasive,
caustic towards people around you, a bit sharp maybe. And I know people are going over these days, and I'm talking about this from experience because I used to smoke when I was a teen. Oh yes,
revelations in the studio.
When I was a teenager, and I remember
I've been clean forever.
Yeah, forever, and stay that way. Well, things have changed these days. Back in the day when I was a lad, that was the thing. You go to the pub and there's a cigarette machine. You don't get those anymore.
No,
things like this.
I mean, smoking in pubs, that's not a thing.
Most films, kind of every actor in a film would be smoking.
Yeah,
I mean, even watching old comedy shows that we've seen recently. like 2 pints of lager and a packet of crisps.
Yeah.
You know, they're there sparking up a
I
cigarette.
mean,
all the time.
even Red Dwarf, when that came out in the 90s.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course.
So it was just part of the thing. But I myself remember a time when on Sunday morning, so I've been out Friday night, Saturday night, it's got to Sunday morning, I've woken up on my mate's settee, and the first thing I think of is, oh, I need a fag.
Wow.
You don't know. And
we're not going back to that story about America.
No. But,
That was funny.
Yeah, that was funny. But yeah, so I'd sort of go through my loose change and see if I could get enough money to go to the. So I'd wander down the road to the local tobacconists, newsagents, just to buy a packet of 10 fags, 10 cigarettes, should I say?
Cigarillos.
So I can have a cigarette before thinking about having a cup of coffee or even having any breakfast. It was a cigarette, but I didn't realise it at the time.
Yeah, it was just that compulsive
And then
action.
Then for me, it just at one point, I don't know what it was. I think it was probably a sudden realisation one Sunday morning that what on earth are you doing?
Yeah, why are you feeding this addiction?
Yeah, I was probably, I don't know, only probably about 20. But still, it was suddenly, why am I doing this? And, you know, it was like...
It's a mindset that can actually be quite hard to kind of...
snap out of.
Yeah.
But I did. And that's a story for another day. I got out of that. And it's really weird because even now, being that I'm nearly 60 years old, I can't stand smoking. Okay? I can't stand if I'm walking down the street and somebody's in front of me smoking and I smell that smoke. It's like, ugh.
Yeah.
But there is some weird thing deep in my mind that if I go into a pub and I smell beer in a pub, that kind of can kick off this feeling of it's not the same if there's not having because you don't smoke in pubs anymore.
No.
But it's kind of like there's that fact of the smoke is
Wow.
missing. You know?
Wow, yeah.
It's really weird, but it's deep there. In
Obviously, I obviously have no idea about that because obviously,
honestly, it would turn your stomach.
by this point, obviously smoking had been phased out.
Yeah, phased out, and yeah, you don't want to go there. But I think something that I haven't done myself, apart from inadvertently being in the plume of one of these vapes, is the vaping. Yeah, driving behind a car.
Now,
you can't see through the back window because it's full of vape.
I know loads of people that vape.
Yeah, but the vape is nicotine, isn't it? It's
getting that hit.
It's feeding that nicotine addiction. So it's not taking a burning, basically from a fire, smoke into your lungs that is going through a filter. You're still breathing in a mist, which I don't know exactly the makeup of the things, but ultimately you're taking in nicotine.
Yeah.
And you've got to ask yourself, why?
Yeah.
Why do I do it? And it's because you've become addicted to it. And when you don't have it, you miss it, and then you start getting those tremors of anxiety, of shortness, of temper, and things like that.
It's actually really interesting you've actually brought this up because, just casting my mind a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to some people, and I'm not going to name names here, but they were having a conversation about this vaping stuff and how much it's actually costing them per week.
Oh, gosh. I know that cigarettes are incredibly expensive.
They kind of made a rough estimate that it's costing them $8,000 a year.
£8,000
to feed
this
addiction.
Of just sucking in
between two people.
Mist.
So this is a couple, obviously.
A couple. Well, so the 8,000 is between the two of them.
Between the two of them.
Wow.
And that kind of that hit them. That figure.
It's funny that it comes down to money that has that effect.
Yeah. And meanwhile, they've all obviously comparing all the different blooming flavours and things you can get of it.
Yeah,
in the meantime, it's like these are conversations that I can't really contribute to because I don't really.
Yeah. Well,
I'm not part of this.
Yeah, I'm not in this
zone.
This zone. This
field of influence, really.
But I do find that's annoying when you are walking down the street and you suddenly walk through this huge vapor trail of strawberry or bubble gum, and you think,
chocolate.
Why do I want to be breathing in somebody else's?
Yeah, it's not like you really ask for it. You just unfortunately it's vicinity, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of those sort of antisocial things that I don't like. But there you go. But the point is, we're talking about mental health, and that when you're addicted to something, of course, it affects your mental health. And again, talking about nutritional intake, you've heard of the term when somebody is hangry.
Yeah.
You know, because they're hungry. And because they're getting more and more hungry, they get short-tempered, and so angry. So you get that.
I've known a few people like that.
So again, making sure that you are eating well, good, slow, carbohydrates which break down slowly, and things.
Because I mean,
keep you
we're not
full.
saying you're not allowed treats,
Oh gosh, no.
but having a healthy, balanced diet does help an awful lot.
Exactly. And now I'm not going to tote myself as being a prime example, but the way I deal with treats is from Monday. Well, let's say from Sunday to Saturday morning, I basically just eat a healthy, balanced diet. I avoid all major sugars, things that have got added sugar in them, etc. So for breakfast, I'll have porridge, but I don't like having grain sugar on my porridge.
I do not like the term "no added sugar" because that just means they've added no more sugar than they've put in it.
Got in it. I know what you mean. But for example, I'll have porridge, but I like honey, which is obviously a natural sugar. So I'll add a spoonful of natural honey to my porridge, and that sets me up for the morning.
Yeah.
Big bowl, bucket load of porridge, job done,
Well, that's you.
But
Personal preference, chicken.
if somebody tries to ply me with cake or chocolate or ice cream or whatever through the week,
You have become a lot better at kind of...
I just say no thanks.
Yeah,
but-
really pushing it
but-
off.
But it makes no difference to me. I've got that mindset.
It's getting into that mindset
I'm in the
for a lot
mindset
of people
where-
is the trouble.
we're in the new year and we've still got excess stuff from the festive season.
Yeah, we do.
There are
We
still
do.
the odd half box of chocolates and stuff
Well,
knocking around.
you say that there's a fully wrapped Terry's chocolate orange sitting on the chair.
Ah, that's mine, isn't it?
Is that yours?
It's still in its wrapping paper. I know exactly what it is. I know it's a chocolate orange and it's still in its Christmas wrapping paper.
Somehow I managed to evade unwrapping.
Well, I was going to unwrap it
Yeah,
Saturday just gone
right.
and have a bit,
Yeah.
but I didn't get round to it.
So,
So it has to stay there for another week. No, it doesn't bother me.
but it bothers me because I'm like, oh, I want to eat that. There's a fully open one next to it as well, which I'm like, oh,
So, well, if you're lucky, I might open it this Saturday.
yeah.
And then what's it?
I might be able to have a. Are they They're not really triangles. They're
They're wedges.
A wedge.
It's a wedge.
A wedge.
But never steal the centre bit.
No,
the
that's
bit.
how you get stabbed.
No, we don't do that.
Get
That's
stabbed.
how you get punched.
Hit punched. Yeah, that's a yeah.
Yeah, stabbed with a
With a wedge.
chopstick.
Oh, okay.
With a chopstick.
Depends if we're having Chinese.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, we're talking about mindfulness, which is a technique that you can basically use to take control of your own self when you are getting completely stressed out or full of anxiety, or you just can't focus on something. Mindfulness is it's life-changing, honestly. When I first discovered mindfulness as a technique and started to apply it myself, I actually found it very difficult in the beginning because people tried to explain it in different ways.
So how would you best explain it?
Right, well, that's what I'll get round to in a second. Probably the best question you can ask is, what is mindfulness?
So, Buzz, what is mindfulness?
Well, mindfulness in itself, the term mindfulness, derives mainly from the teachings from the East, particularly Buddhist traditions. Okay, so it's a form of meditation. And that, personally, before you all out there in listening land turn off, okay, doesn't turn me on either when it comes to things. Let me explain. I've never been one to be able to meditate.
No, with gongs and things.
In the sense that you think Zen Buddhism, meditation. I'll take you back to my early years of doing Eastern martial arts, where I was completely absorbed by Eastern culture. And if you, I know it sounds a bit crass really, but if you think of like martial art movies, you always see the martial arts masters and things. They're always
Mr. Miyagi.
That's it, meditating, etc., etc. And don't get me wrong, part of martial arts is to find that inner peace, to be able to not lose your anger, to be focused, to be, if you like, very Zen Buddhist in your approach to things. And that's not wrong. And so I'm not poking fun at that in any way, shape or form. But as an individual, when you think of that, the kind of stereotypical image of a person sitting on a cushion with their legs crossed, and they've got their hands on their knees, palms up to the heavens, and you're breathing in, and don't get me wrong, mindfulness, breathing techniques, very important in mindfulness, but they're breathing in, visualizing that breath going to the center of their core, filling themselves up with light, and then that light's going out of their hands and out the top of their head.
So that is that process.
Yeah, that's kind of the process.
Because I've come very much from the film angle where it's just somebody sitting down going Om a lot.
Yes, exactly. And so you have that stereotypical image of, to meditate, you've got to sit there cross-legged on a cushion, focused on your breathing, and then become one with the universe. The problem I had, and the problem that I know many people listening to this have, is as soon as you stop to try and find that inner peace, your mind just wanders. There is one thing banging on the door in your head, another thing.
And that obviously leads on a complete tangent.
And you start, before you know it, you're thinking about, I've got to go and do that job. I've got to finish that. I've got to do this. I've got to go get the shopping done. Oh, there's washing to be done at home. I've got to pay the bills. I mustn't forget to do that one on my way home. Blah 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 blah. So if you can imagine me sitting there cross-legged on the floor, in my head, it's just like chaos.
Yeah.
Chaos, total chaos. One thought firing off against another one. Blah,
so
blah, blah.
is it equatable to this idea that you can switch off from this?
What you're trying to do with mindfulness is to live or to experience the moment you're living in. Okay, now that might sound in itself a bit airy-fairy, but let me quantify that. So if we are feeling stressed, because you might be feeling stressed from work pressure, or you might be feeling stressed because of financial
issues. That's always going to be a big one.
You might be feeling, anxiety about an upcoming job interview.
It could be a relationship thing.
Well, that's a good thing. We'll look at maybe a list of things in a moment. All these things are literally bouncing around in your head, and you can't focus. You're trying to focus on one, and then one of the other ones will start taking your attention, and then you start thinking about that, and another one will take your attention, and all these things are happening, yet what you're missing out on is the actual moment that you are in at this present moment in time.
And at this moment in time, we're standing here in a sound booth recording a podcast.
Exactly. But let's just say you were walking through a forest, and you can see the dappled light flickering through the canopy. You can smell the scent of the forest, okay? The flowers that are out, it's autumn time, the fruits are hanging out there. You can listen to the bird song. You can literally taste. You can take a blackberry off of a bush and taste the environment you're in. And you have all these things in that moment. But what's happening in everyday life is inside your head,
rattling around.
All these things are rattling around in your head.
I mean, right now I'm thinking about the release schedule of when this is coming out, all the different extra little videos and things to be doing with this.
Exactly, and this is the thing. What we need as individuals is we need to be able to turn that background noise off.
Like the static on a TV. Almost.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. So if you just had like on a radio or a television, I don't think you get that on TV anymore, do you? Not on
a very
digital
old-fashioned
ones. But if you have a good old-fashioned radio and it's going like that, it's trying to turn that background interference off and to take control of it and to reduce your heart rate, reduce your blood pressure, reduce those stress levels, and take control of your life, and to really, really help you focus on the moment. So ultimately, using mindfulness as a technique, it's to give you a sense of calm in an otherwise chaotic world. And you mentioned a couple of factors that can cause you stress and anxiety. So let's just go through this. I think these are probably some of the
heavy hitters.
Yeah, heavy hitters that people will have. You mentioned relationships, money worries, family breakups, bereavements, illness and injury.
Yeah. That can be very demotivating and demoralizing almost when you're like, for instance, you're in peak physical condition and then you're suddenly taken back by a sports-related injury. For instance, I was doing gymnastics. I was doing the splits and everything. I pulled my hamstring. That took me out of gymnastics for a good while.
And how did that make you feel?
It was annoying Because it was like, yay, I've got down into splits, but crap, now my hamstring's gone.
Right. So you mentioned right at the beginning of this podcast, you called me a mindfulness coach.
Yes.
So the listeners out there might say, well, what makes Buzz, qualified to be a mindfulness coach?
It's a good question.
And it's kind of the way I look at going to the gym. If you go to the gym sometimes and you see a brand new PT who's 18, 20 years old,
fresh from
college, and they've never had an illness,
nope,
an injury,
raring to go.
That's great, and they're fantastic. And I take my hat off to you guys. You're all fantastic, brilliant. But I've also, in my time of being a personal trainer, I've had much older people in their 60s, for example, that have got aches and pains and arthritis and all sorts of things, and they say the young trainers don't understand
because they're all fit and bubbly.
Yeah, they've never had to deal with any of that. They kind of imagine what it must be like by their training, etc. It's a different thing to experience that. So when it comes to mindfulness and it comes to those trigger points that can cause you to have stress and anxiety and even depression, again, you might say, okay, Buzz, so what makes you qualified to be a mindfulness coach?
Is it exercising that consideration for other people?
It is, but I also take it that one draws upon one's own experience in life.
Yeah.
It's like, how can you be a marriage guidance counsellor, for example, if you've never been married? I'm sure there may well be marriage guidance counsellors out there that have never been married, and they've done the courses, and they might be absolutely 100% fantastic at their job. Or you might get people that are child carers, but they've never had their own kids.
It's really interesting, actually, what you're saying, because these things that you're saying, like the meditation and these things you've just been saying, it's reminding me a lot of some of the dramatic rehearsal techniques from drama. Actually, when it comes to acting, like the meditation side of things, imagine there's a ball of light going around the circumference of your body and things like that.
Well,
and drawing upon these things that have happened to you and reflecting it in the character and your performance.
Okay, well, that's a really good point, because, again, one main thing that actors and actresses, I think everybody is referred to as an actor these days, but what actors all have to do at some point in their acting is cry.
Yeah. And it's a hard thing to do.
It's a hard thing to do for some people, not so hard for other people, but and they do have what's called, I think it's a cry stick or tear stick. You rub it underneath your eyes and it makes your eyes water. So
is that just an onion?
Makes you cry if you're having an issue.
A copyrighted onion.
But when it comes to acting, what they always want you to do as an actor is to find something, generally in your past.
Emotional memory, that's what we're talking about now.
Memory in your past that makes you well up with those feelings. Now, that might be loss of a family member. Yeah. Might be loss of a pet.
That is exactly what I drew upon when actually going through this process in drama.
Yeah, so you thought of a pet.
Yes.
And that brought the emotions to the fore that you needed to. And that's very interesting, because we're going to talk about that in due course. So we've got these main factors that I say about. So for me, yes, I've had, in my younger years, very, very rocky relationships.
I think we can all relate to that.
And you have those relationships where you're so devoted to somebody, and then you literally have been kicked in the teeth,
thrown to the curb,
and discarded, and that person is gone, and they're probably not even giving a second thought to you.
Exactly.
But you can't stop.
And there's no way of even knowing that.
No, and of course you run it around in your head.
Of course.
Around and around.
Round and around, yeah.
And when you don't appreciate the mindfulness techniques that we're going to talk about, that's exactly what happens. It just goes round and around. Money worries, for example.
Yeah.
I went through a huge trauma when it came to money worries. When I got married, so I was getting married at 25, and that was fantastic.
Crikey, I'm 25.
I know you're 25. I was getting married at 25. Everything is happening. It's the week of the marriage.
Yeah.
It's the Monday. Well, in fact, let's take it back 24 hours. It's the Sunday. Monday of that week, I was booked in for having what they call pre-marriage photographs, or like engagement photographs.
Okay. I have no idea.
No, you don't.
So
But
please explain.
Prior to the Saturday of that week, which was the day of
The big day.
the big day, on the Sunday, or technically Monday morning, about 2:00 in the morning, I get a phone call from my business partner, because I was self-employed and I had a factory unit, to be told that the factory unit's on fire.
Oh.
And to cut a long story short, it turned out that we'd been arsoned, and the whole factory unit, all our stock, everything had gone up in smoke. And then I'm dealing with the police and the fire brigade and everything.
It's a horrible
Insurance
situation.
assessors and all sorts. To compound that, okay, it's the day that I'm going to have my pre-marriage engagement photos taken. And every time I look at those photos, I know that
is what
behind
you're
my
thinking.
eyes, that's all that I'm thinking about is the fact that I've literally just come from a bomb site.
Yeah.
And I'm trying, and I remember the photographer saying, "Can you give us a smile?" I was like,
Do you know the day I've had?
you know, and I'm thinking, don't, this is terrible. And of course, I'm getting married at the end of that week.
Yeah.
So all that week I've just spent literally shoveling through the
Rubble.
destruction and
Rubble.
trying to
The ashes.
trying to salvage what I can. By the time I get to the day of the wedding, I've discovered, we're going back a few years obviously, my business partner at the time, he had been charged with the yearly insurance renewals. As you know, both of us took in turn to do the books, the accounts, and blah blah blah. One of his jobs was to do the insurance renewals. Now you didn't have computers back then.
No.
You did it all on paperwork. You
Wow.
filled in your yearly renewal, sent it off to the insurance company. Now, in this day and age, this might not sound like a lot, but back then in the early 90s, I think, well, actually it was 1991, we were insured for a stock, for all the stock we had in,
Yep.
and clients' jobs that we were doing at the time. We were covered for £25,000, which might not sound a lot now, but back then it was a small factory unit. Factory unit had its own insurance cover because it was a council-owned one. Only to find out that my business partner has filled the form in incorrectly, and instead of being insured for £25,000, which meant, don't worry, we've got the insurance that's going to cover it and replace everything, it actually put down £2,500.
Oh, come on. This is the problem I have with a lot of people doing paperwork and things.
Yeah.
I always ask for a second opinion, a second eyes over something.
I know.
To check.
I know.
Like, for the simple fact that was a decimal point error.
Yeah, there was a decimal point
I mean,
error.
come on.
But that was it. That was in stone. So suddenly, day of the marriage, by this time I've discovered that I am now owing thousands, split between me and my business partner, we are owing thousands of pounds that we...
Good grief.
That I've now got to take on top of the fact that I've
You
just bought a house as well, because we're literally moving into our first house. Money worries. I can...
But yeah, you can associate
I
to
can
that.
associate with that. My business is now lost, and I've had to rebuild the business, and I've got all this. I had to take on all that extra money, financially, and everything else. Family breakups. Well, I've had family breakups. Big arguments where people are still not, even years later, aren't talking to each other over the silliest of things.
Silliest things.
Bereavements. I've had bereavements from, we all lose our grandparents. I lost my father. He passed away due to cancer. But I've also had to deal with 2 suicides in the family. Lost my brother, lost my nephew. So I've had to deal with all that. Stress, anxiety, as you say. Illness and injury. Well, again, I'm not covering everything here, but I'm just giving an outline of why I feel that, to some degree, I've got the experience to be able to talk about these things and have an understanding of what people feel like. When it came to illness and injury, I had to go through the whole process of my father slowly deteriorating and passing away from cancer. I've had to deal with myself at the age of 30, where I ruptured 2 discs in my back. I could barely walk for a year.
Was that something to do with me?
I think it was a compounded injury from martial arts that I didn't know I had.
Right.
But it was, I can laugh about it now. But I think it was a case of you'd start to cry as a baby and your mum had said, your turn to feed him. And I twisted out the bed and ended up on my hands and knees on the floor in absolute agony.
Oh, ouch.
Simple as that. 2 discs had gone. And as I say, I was on crutches for the best part of a year, and I was told by my local GP that I would never do sports again, that I'd have to just face it. That was the end of doing, and I was like top 4 martial arts at the time. That's the end. You're not going to be able to do anything. In fact, I was told that you're going to probably have to have back surgery and have your 2 discs fused together. I was told I'd have to have wires put in my back and all sorts of things, and I wouldn't be able to walk properly.
Oh my God.
And this was literally just prior to a holiday we'd booked to go abroad as well. And
Was this something you then went on to actually do? You went on holiday?
I did go on holiday in a lot of discomfort, obviously, and then that's all I felt about. All I was thinking about on holiday. I have very, very few memories of that holiday that actually come back to me as being good memories of that holiday. There's just one moment, I think, that your mother and I shared on a beach that I can say that was just like one of those really nice moments. The rest of the time,
Where was that?
Bermuda. Bermuda. You came with us as a baby.
Is that the cardboard box story?
Cardboard box story, where you had to be in a cardboard box on the plane, bless you. But all the time I was on holiday, the holiday was basically wasted from that point onwards, because that's all I could think about. The fact I was coming back and my life was over at 30.
Jeez.
But going on from that, seeing a really good consultant, learning about mindfulness, learning about PMA, positive mental attitude, not only did I avoid that back surgery, but I went on to qualify as a personal trainer.
Yes, you have.
Qualified as a martial arts instructor.
Yep.
And I am still hitting the gym now. As I say, I'm knocking the doors of 60, and I am determined to be stronger and fitter and better at the age of 60 than I am now. And that is because I truly believe the correct mental approach. Now, I've only brushed over a few things, but everybody has traumas in their life. And that's why I feel that when I discovered the technique of mindfulness and realised actually it worked, how I positively can talk about what I am saying is a real thing that can benefit people. So, to the crux of it, mindfulness. It's about, and again, it might sound a bit woolly if you've never heard about mindfulness, it's about living in the moment, experiencing the moment, focusing on the moment, and getting rid of all that clutter out of your head that is making you feel down, depressed, stressed.
And that's not an easy thing to do.
It isn't. And that's why I want to look at basically 2 parts of mindfulness, because I could probably talk about this for hours, and then it would just get really, really, really boring. And
Well, maybe we can do a part 2 sometime down the line.
But what I want to do is focus on something that the listeners, as I say, it's the Now We Know show, so I want you to be able to go away from listening to this and put it into practice and go, do you know, this works. Now, firstly, and this is done, and please, anybody listen to this, what I'm going to say next, do not turn off and go, oh dear, well, there's a load of gumph that this bloke's talking about.
That's a good word.
Gumph. Mindfulness, the approach to learning mindfulness, and I say mindfulness stems from meditation. Meditation isn't for everybody. And you can do walking meditation, which I'll talk about, one of the techniques you can do, which is very, very useful, very helpful for you to get into that zone. But meditating by sitting on the floor in a cross-legged position and all what I've already said, it never worked for me. Some people can do it and it's absolutely perfect. Some people can go off on meditational retreats and it's perfect for them. There are different approaches to mindfulness. I like, if you like, a more 21st century approach to mindfulness, which anybody can use straight away without having to think that you've got to become some kind of Zen Buddhist. Yeah?
Right.
Do you understand that?
Yes.
So, this is where I'm saying gumph.
Okay.
Don't turn off.
I'm not going to turn off. I'm stuck in here with you.
Mindfulness, okay, is all about understanding time travel.
Now you're talking my language.
Now, this is why I say don't turn off, okay? We can all time travel. and you do it without you even noticing you're doing it. Now, I don't mean you are physically...
We're not talking Doctor Who time
Doctor
travel.
Who. You're not jumping into some kind of
Blue box.
and disappearing off to
Who knows where.
1935 or something like that. But your mind can time travel, and you probably do it every day.
Yeah.
Loads of times in the day, every day of.
I mean, even dreaming.
Dreaming, you don't particularly have too much control over. You can have dream techniques. That's not my area. Forte. I do like a good dream. In fact, I'd even go as far as say I like a good nightmare, because kind of in my head, I can control my dreams. Like, nothing freaks me out. And in fact, I just wake up thinking, wow, that was
a really good one, yeah.
It's like, go to the movies for free. Woohoo!
Yeah.
But let's focus
I've had
on
some right corkers.
Let's focus on we're 100% awake, but you can time travel. And the way I mean that you can time travel is, you mentioned it earlier with the actor learning how to cry automatically.
The emotional memory.
You have an emotional memory. That memory is from the past.
Yeah, that is something that's happened to you.
Something that's happened to you. So, of course, if you have a traumatic event in your past, or something that keeps coming back to you, sometimes you can put these things out of your head, and then maybe you'll have a trigger, like you'll have a couple of drinks, and the alcohol eases you up.
Yeah, or
and then you
for instance, you see an item or something that,
something
takes your mind back to that point.
Yeah, and you time travel your emotions backwards in time, and then re-experience those emotions, which basically can cause you to feel down,
it's
sad,
so true.
Upset, stressed out.
Which, of course, nobody actually wants.
No, but you're doing it in your head because you're time traveling your emotions back to a point of negativity. Because the one thing you can't do is you can't actually change the past.
No, it's done.
It's done. And that's what you've got to kind of grasp. You've got to say, that is the past, can't change that. So if I keep travelling back and reliving those negative emotions, is that doing me any good at all?
No, it's not moving forwards.
It's not helping me at all. What it's doing is it's stopping you from living in the moment, where you are right now, what you should be experiencing, what's going on around you, enjoying the life
now,
that you have.
The now.
So that's time travelling into the past. You can also use it positively, because if you can think of a time or an experience in the past where you were in fits of laughter, you were rolling around. I have a great memory of my father before he passed away, where we were in hysterics, and I often will find my mind go back to that.
Was this charades?
This is a charades game, and I will go back to that, and the first thing that happens is immediately I get a big smile on my face, okay, and then I have those warm feelings, and it's great. I've just time travelled my emotions back to a point which gives me a positive feeling.
Yeah, that made you feel really good.
Rather than going back
to something
to
negative.
A point which is negative, which keeps playing.
So it can have both.
It can work both ways.
Yeah.
So what we need to do through mindfulness is to try and say, well, it's not a bad thing to time travel back, but time travel to the points which
made you feel good.
Make you feel good and benefit you and lift you up. Yeah? Equally, though, we can time travel forwards in time.
Yeah.
Okay, because
to the same extent, both ways.
Because what happens when we time travel our emotions forwards, it's we are trying to guess the outcome of something.
Yeah. That is so true. That is so true.
If I've got, it might be something as simple as I've got a casting for a part in a film or something. Or
it's funny how this keeps going back to acting.
Well, that's what we do. But you might be going, I'm going to do a casting for an advert or something like that. You might be a month away from it. And the further you are away from it, you might not think about it. But as it gets closer and closer, the anxiety can start building.
Oh, will they like me? Will they not like me? Will I get the job? Will I not get the job?
What should I do?
Thus is the trauma of an actor.
Exactly. So we need to don't overthink it. Don't travel that way. You can be thinking about, how am I going to pay that bill at the end of the month?
Yeah, that's probably a good one, yeah.
One thing is that whatever happens at the end of the month is going to happen.
At the end of the month.
Yeah, at the end of the month.
That's not now.
But if you're 2 or 3 weeks away from that, if you are going to focus on that anxiety
of that
outcome, especially when the outcome is actually, oh, it didn't matter at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Everything was fine. I paid the bill. Then
That is so true.
What you've
That
done is you've spent 3 weeks of your life up to that
just
point
festering,
full of anxiety, to only find that.
That wasn't that bad.
You didn't need to do that.
Yeah. You're not going to get those 3 weeks back.
No. So you've got to say, okay, I know this has to be dealt with in the future, but by casting my emotions and my mind into the future, all it's doing is causing me anxiety and again distracting me from actually the moment I'm living in.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what we need to focus on. That's what mindfulness is about, is trying to stop time traveling backwards and forwards and just focus on the moment. Push all those excess thoughts out of your head that are causing you this stress and anxiety. Focus on the moment. Now, when your head is full of this background static, that is an issue.
Yeah.
Because we've got to try and find ways of getting it out. Of course, the first technique which I've just explained is we need to stop time traveling. Okay? We need to stop thinking about the past. Stop trying to guess the future and focus on the moment. Look around us. We can do that by stopping, relaxing, breathing in. Okay? It's something that
I'm going to do this now.
You've heard of people doing breathing techniques to calm them down.
Yep.
It works. It is a guaranteed thing that everybody should do. So if you have a situation where you just think you're feeling your anxiety going up, you're feeling your stress levels going up, or maybe you're even feeling your anger going up, you need to bring it back down. Okay?
Yeah.
The way I do it, and I've taught to many people over the years to do this in both martial arts classes, fitness classes, and basically just mindfulness coaching. Once you know the technique, you don't actually have to physically do it, so you don't have to be standing at the bus stop and doing this. But if you put your hands in front of you, put one hand, so both palms up.
Both palms up.
Put one hand on top of the other hand.
Does it matter which hand?
It doesn't matter. Okay. And they're about your height of your navel.
What's that?
Your belly button.
Okay.
And anyway, so they're just nice and rest and relax. You close your eyes. Then I want you just to... Now, this is the thing. You have to understand the difference. When we are getting stressed, when we're getting, that build-up of anxiety or anger, we tend to do shallow breathing. We're just breathing with the top part of our lungs. It's little short breaths. So, we're getting really... and we're not getting full... We're not then oxygenating our blood
as efficiently as
that's
one
it.
could.
We're not getting that lovely rich oxygen around our bodies and into our brain. Okay, so we want to try and stop these short breaths that we may not even realise we're doing. So with our hands in that position, you want to expel all the air out of your lungs and think about breathing diaphragmically. So your lungs work to their maximum efficiency using the diaphragm at the bottom of the lung. When we get hiccups, it's because we've got a little spasm in the diaphragm that causes you a hiccup. Okay, and that's at the base of the lung. So what you want to do is exhale all the air out. Imagine you're breathing out from your tummy, not from your chest, all the way out. Then through your nose, you're going to breathe in, and I want you to breathe in, filling your lungs up from your belly button, your navel. Okay? Yeah. So your tummy's going to come out. Don't worry about it. Let your tummy come out. Fill up from the base of your lung all the way up. And as you do that, lift your hands up in front of your chest slowly. So we're breathing in. And normally a very slow count of 3 will do that. 1, 2, 3. And when we get to that night, we're full of oxygen. We turn the hands over, so now they face downwards, and we expel the air, pushing out using the diaphragm through our mouths, slowly dropping the hands all the way back down to the navel and expelling from the base of the lungs out. Turn the hands back over. 1, 2, 3, nice and slow, and out. 1, 2, 3. Do that 3 or 4 times, and you'll just be back into that relaxed moment. Calming yourself down. Once you've practiced this technique, you can have your hands in your pockets, you can have your hands by your sides, and you can do that literally with that. So you don't have to be there bringing your hands up and down at the bus stop and people thinking, what on earth are they doing? You can just do it and you relax.
That's interesting. It makes you kind of think.
What it does is it stops you.
Yeah.
It stops you in your tracks and gets you into the moment.
That's surprisingly effective.
So what we've learned so far is, yes, an awful lot of the negative feelings that we have can stem from time traveling into the past, time traveling into the future, when we should be focusing on the moment. Okay, so if you're sitting at the breakfast table having your breakfast, nothing else in your life is happening apart from you having your breakfast and having a cup of tea, cup of coffee, your case of Diet Coca-Cola probably. But nothing else is happening apart from enjoying that breakfast, that moment. Sun is just rising, job done. Why destroy that moment by
casting your mind forwards,
backwards, and having all these things in it? Just focus on the moment, and you'll feel so much better. Now, I do have this issue where I've found it very difficult to expel all this random background noise in my head, all these different issues and feelings and things banging there saying, oh, you need to think about me. No, think about me. No, think about me. No, think about me. And you need to get that out. Now, we have moments in our everyday life where we do have singular focus. But for human beings, that singular focus, especially in our modern world, if take us back 70,000 years, probably totally different, because all you're thinking about is, I need to find food, I need to find water, I need to have fire, I need shelter, I need to do very singular things that focus in your mind that are important.
Well, that's basic survival, isn't it?
And even then, you would have had stress.
Yeah.
Okay.
What if you couldn't achieve those things?
Now, that bring us all these thousands of years forward, the human psyche still needs stress. Okay. Now, I might be contradicting myself at this point, but some people say, oh, people should be stress-free. I don't actually agree with that totally. Okay, because stress, you don't want stress levels that are basically killing you by any means. But we are creatures that are built on performing under a certain level of stress. It could only be a low level of stress, but if you don't have any stress in your life, it's kind of, what's the point of getting out of bed in the morning?
Yeah.
Just the simple fact of,
it's an interesting way of looking at it.
I need to get up because I need to get to work.
Yeah.
There's kind of that stress level of, I need to get to work on time. That's not a bad thing, okay? It means people make discoveries, people invent things, people create works of art because they have got a slight level of stress in their life, because stress at low levels motivates you to do things.
Yeah.
If you had zero stress in your life, zero,
you would be stagnant.
Well, you'd have no motivation to do anything, So what we're talking about is bringing those stress levels down. And we can do that in the moment by breathing techniques. We can help ourselves by stop time traveling, as I say. But also, you need to try and find a technique that suits you to get that background, those voices out of your head. And as I was getting around to saying, is we all have moments in our daily life where we have those moments of singularity that we probably don't notice we have. So let me kind of explain. Say you are watching a film, because you love your films.
I do love my films.
If you're watching a film and that film has engrossed you, you've got a moment of singularity, haven't you? Because you're sitting there watching a movie, Godzilla -1.
Ooh,
all you're doing...
That's a heavy hitter right there.
All your mind is doing is focusing on that movie.
Yeah.
All those voices All those feelings of stress, anxiety, anything that might be on your mind, you haven't
pushed away.
But you haven't realised they've been pushed away.
Yeah. Because you're engaged.
You're engaged into one singular thing. You might be reading a book, but again, before I jump to that, you're watching a movie that doesn't engross you. And your mind starts wandering.
It wanders.
And you realise that actually you've just
you check your phone during the screening.
Yeah, well, you shouldn't do that in the cinema. But
you're
at home and you suddenly find yourself reaching for your mobile phone to check if you've had a message on social media or something, because your mind's wandering again. You're reading a book. Now you find a book and it's absolutely engrossing. Fine, brilliant. But then you're reading a book and it's not engrossing you at all, and your mind starts wandering off,
and then you put it down. You don't do it.
And it's like that in the workplace. You can be doing some work and you go, oh, this is just not engaging me. Okay? Or you can be doing something work orientated that has your total and utter focus.
So to a degree, this can also affect productivity.
Yeah, because if your mind's wandering because you're doing something you just aren't,
you're half-arsing it.
Yeah, because you just can't be bothered. You've got so much on my mind, I can't focus on this. So we need to find ways of pushing those voices out of our heads, and that in itself can be very difficult. And people will say, when it comes to meditation, sit down. I see people going off to sort of weekend retreats where they'll sit in a forest and they'll say, okay, what I want you to do is focus on a tree. Close your eyes, engage your breathing technique, focus on the tree, think of the pattern of its leaves, think of its bark, the texture, how many years it's been growing, it's pushing its roots into the earth, all this stuff. While your guide in meditation is saying this, you're thinking, Did I turn the dishwasher off when I left the house? Hang on, I forgot to get petrol on the way home. Did I put petrol in the car or didn't I? And your mind's wandering again. It's like, I should be focused. And sometimes you need something to help you focus. And that's where walking meditation is really something that I've found is beneficial. I've done this technique with other people, and suddenly they realise kind of what I'm trying to get at. And once you learn this technique, if you can't do it, do try this technique, walking meditation. Take your shoes and socks off.
Might be a bit difficult in here.
Not so much in your house with your lovely carpets and things like that. I know we're in the winter at the moment, so it's cold outside. But if you can imagine, it's a nice warm sunny day, and you are in the garden or out in the countryside, or even just taking a walk along a path. If you take your shoes and socks off, you suddenly get complete contact to the ground with your feet.
Yeah.
Your feet, which for most people very rarely touch the ground.
Yeah.
Okay, because we are so used to wearing shoes or shoes and socks.
I mean, I'm kind of in the minority there because I do wander around.
You do.
Even today, and I mean, it's pretty cold outside. Yeah. I answered the door and things in just my feet.
We do have our exceptions. I'll go out and catch the postman in my bare feet and things, and it doesn't bother me too much. But other people might think that that's absolutely mental.
Yeah. So, why would you put yourself in that situation?
But the thing is, for me, I'm not a great lover of shingle on beaches. So if you take your shoes and socks and go on the beach, and you get that line of shingle, the broken shells.
Yeah.
And you want to get from the top of the beach to the sea, and you've got to barefoot it across all that sharp stuff. I hate that. Okay, I hate that. But that's what I want you to focus on, because if you take your shoes and socks off, and if I took you for a walk through a wood, okay,
yeah,
1,000 yards, 1,000 meters, whatever, take you for a walk with your shoes and socks on, and you're looking.
Is this along a path, or is this like just?
Could be anywhere.
Complete.
Could be across a field. Could be down a beach. Let's just go to the beach, all right?
Okay, we're going.
So I've taken you to the beach. We're going for a walk down the beach with your shoes and socks on. Okay.
Shoes and socks on. Okay.
And you're going to be looking out at the sea. You're going to be seeing the seagulls. You're going to be looking at the dunes. You're going to be looking at things, but you're still probably going to have your mind wandering off to other things.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, to other things. It's wandering around. And we finish our walk, and our car is parked up back where we came from.
Yep.
Now I say, take your shoes and socks off. Now we're going to walk back along the beach. Maybe that will take us through the sand dunes and things like that. But then you have that full contact with the floor, with the spiky sand, with the sticks that might be in the sand and things. And when you're in the forest or on a field, or just on the grass field or something, when you feel with your feet, you suddenly go, actually, all I can focus on is each step. Because when you walk down that beach initially, when you walk through that forest, your feet are just walking autonomously. You're not even thinking about it, are you?
No, you're just walking.
You're just walking. Your feet kind of do their own thing. It's quite a miracle when you actually think about it, because you might be dodging a root, stepping off over a sharp rock.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a wobbly stone. But you're looking around and your feet are kind of doing this automated by themselves. Your mind is controlling your feet, but you're just walking. As soon as you remove your shoes and socks,
You're thinking about where you're walking.
every single step that you take, you are thinking where my foot is going, what am I standing on, what can I feel?
Yeah.
Yeah. Your mind suddenly becomes completely
Focused on
this one thing. And there's no room for those voices, for those troubles banging and saying, no, think about me. You think, I can't, because I've got to continue back to where I came from, and I need to look at the ground and see where
Who would have thought such a simple...
Is there a thistle there?
Such a simple thing would have such a profound effect.
But it does. Once you have practiced walking meditation, where you understand that by each step you take, you feel the ground. You are aware of where you're putting your feet.
Yeah.
Why you're putting it there. How it feels.
I mean, that's like an instinctual thing, isn't it?
Yeah, you do it without thinking, but when you go back to actually taking your shoes and socks off, you have to think about that.
You're happening in the current situation.
Exactly. It might be just the smallest stick on the floor you put your foot on, and it causes discomfort. And so, you need to, and everything goes out of your mind. Now,
a bit of gravel or something.
Exactly. That's the point. Suddenly you're focused. You're focused on the moment. Every footstep you take is in the moment. There is no room in your mind for anxiety from the past or from the future. You're just experiencing the moment. When you learn to be able to do that, then you can push out all those things and start saying, no, my life is precious to me. I need not to waste it on all these things that at the end of the day, I'm either torturing myself over stuff that is in the past. It's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone. Negative things in the past. Why do I need to regurgitate them and relive them? Don't need to worry about things in the future that haven't happened yet. Whatever happens is going to happen, but I shouldn't worry myself sick about something to only find that when I get
to that point
that actually there was nothing to worry about at all.
Yeah.
Or if there is, well, the outcome is whatever the outcome is. You're not going, if you can't change it for the positive, you just have to deal with it, but deal with it at the time rather than spending...
preempting it. Yeah.
Preempting it only to find out that all it's done is made you feel ill and sick and everything.
Yeah.
Focus on the precious time you live in at this moment. That's what mindfulness is all about. So those three things. Stop time traveling. Understand why you need to stop doing that. Breathing to calm you down. And find something that will help you focus and get rid of all those other things out of your head, such as
walking like a hobbit.
Walking meditation.
Yeah.
As a thing, you only need to practice it a few times, and maybe even just once. Once you understand the principle of taking each step, and that your mind is focused on just that one thing, then you should be able to just focus your mind on the one thing without it wandering. There you go. Mindfulness. It's helped me enormously over the years. I know it's helped other people. Hopefully it will help people listening today. They'll maybe take something from it and go, oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Give it a go.
As long as this can have a positive impact
on people. As long as it has a positive impact, okay? That's the thing. It's all about positivity and reducing, as we say, today was all about stress, anxiety, just combining that mental approach of mindfulness with hopefully a physical regime, some kind of exercise, even if it's as simple as walking. Going back to your walking meditation, just go for a walk, and a good nutritional intake as well. Get all those three things together, job done.
Thank you very much, Buzz, for coming in to talk about that today.
That's been my pleasure.
So, before we leave, it's that time of the podcast where we go to our mystery hat of mystery to find out
Mystery hat mystery.
To find out the topic of our next exclusive episode, which will be available to our patrons and YouTube members.
Let's go for it. I do believe that I chose from the mystery hat mystery last time, so this means it's going to be your time to choose from, or your chance to choose from the mystery hat of mystery this time.
Well, the Sherlock Holmes hat of mystery, mystery things. Anyway, okay.
Come on then.
Okay, there's not that many in here.
No,
We're almost out. Okay, right.
What do we got?
Oh, I think you'll like this one.
Okay, tell me the episode.
Episode 28.
Oh, jeez. That's a long, long way back.
I mean, considering this is episode 83.
Is this something to do with science?
Maybe.
Maybe not then. Okay.
Science could have a degree to do with it, I guess.
No, I can't think.
It's a topic that we've done recently.
Is it? No.
Prepping on a budget.
Oh, it's a prepping one. Can't get away from prepping.
Well, that's called being prepared, isn't it?
Being prepared. so much to be prepping.
So we will be flashing back to our prepping on a budget episode in our next exclusive episode for our patrons and YouTube members.
Well, thank you everybody for listening in this week.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe to this channel and comment below any suggestions of topics or activities you'd like to listen to in future episodes. That's a big mindful goodbye from Zach.
And a big breathe and relax goodbye from Buzz. Goodbye.
You can find the Now We Know Show podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music and Apple Podcasts. Keep up to date with everything ZWP on Facebook and Instagram, or visit the Zak Wylde Productions website at www.zakwyldeproductions.com. And remember to join us on Patreon or become a YouTube member for early access content and exclusive episodes.